Yeah, I actually went scuba diving this morning. I'm starting like a veteran scuba dive program here because that's kind of one of the things that we do as veterans is we're just so conditioned to work, 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 and we're so used to our lives being overworked and underappreciated that we get in civilian life and we think that this is how life is supposed to be. So I moved abroad and now I started talking to veterans about how they can move abroad and kind of live a different kind of lifestyle. But basically, the crux of it is you can have a higher quality life at half the price.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Uniforms. And today we have John Davis, and I actually connected with him. I followed him on social media for a little bit, and he was a fellow veteran, and I was watching his video, and I was like, man, you are living in a place where I think a lot of veterans, and a lot of people at that, like, are living and doing the amazing things that they just, in life, right? They're kind of enjoying life, what it's supposed to be. You're having a great time. And I was like, I got to send this guy a message and I hope he responds. And he did. And so I have a really great opportunity to chat with you and just kind of dive into a little bit about your history and what you're doing right now and the mission that you're doing out there right now to help other veterans. So, John, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day away from the beach. Maybe that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. But appreciate it, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, I actually went scuba diving this morning. I'm starting like a veteran scuba dive program here because that's kind of one of the things that we do as veterans is we're just so conditioned to work, work, work. And we're so used to our lives being overworked and underappreciated that we get in civilian life and we think that this is how life is supposed to be. So I moved abroad and now I started talking to veterans about how they can move abroad and kind of live a different kind of lifestyle. But basically, the crux of it is you can have a higher quality life at half the price. And a lot of veterans I know are struggling financially in America. And with remote work, I work from my computer and I have my military retirement. So I'm down in Dominican Republic, living the dream with 20,000 other American veterans that live here.
That's crazy. Like 20,000 other American. I mean, that's a number. I know there's a lot of veterans out there, but with more than 20,000 that I think finally starting to realize this, that there's a bigger and better opportunity out there. Before we get into that lifestyle and just how amazing it is and how you're helping a lot of people, dive into a little bit more about like your time in service and what you're doing. I know you've been able to speak with legislators and you've actually got a book out as well. So you want to touch on those real quick?
I started kind of my veteran journey in the veteran advocacy with student veterans. I went from dropping out of community college to having a master's degree from Harvard. So I started talking to veterans about, hey, here's how you can apply your military skills, your military background, and your experiences to being successful in higher education. With the GI Bill, the college is often the first place that veterans go when we exit the service. And kind of how we do their success or failure sets our lives up in a big way. And I kind of got into it in a very serious way at first because I heard the statistic, and it's true, that people with college degrees kill themselves less than those without them. And with suicide such a big problem in the veteran community, a college degree does provide a level of protective factors. People with college degrees tend to make more money. They're less likely to have struggle PTSD. They're less likely for drugs or homelessness or any of those things. They're even less likely to get divorced. So I started viewing college as kind of something that could make a big impact in veterans' lives if I could help more veterans get to school and then get through to graduation. So my first book, I'll hold it up here, Combat to College. It's how veterans can be successful in higher education. It's not just about like getting good grades because it's tough to be a 30-year-old in a classroom with a bunch of 18-year-olds. So it gets into a lot of those things, how to deal with political professors, how to be successful in your education. And that led to me going to Washington, D.C. to speak to Congress about student veteran issues. So that's kind of where I got into the more formal advocacy. And then the living abroad stuff kind of just happened as a joke because I was sending my friends videos from the beach during the pandemic. Like, I live in Dominican Republic. My rent's $500 a month. And then people were like, really? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. There's lots of other veterans here. And then that led to me connecting with veteran organizations around the world. People don't know, but there's over 1 million veterans or 1 million Americans that live in Mexico, and they have tons of American legions there. They have VFWs in Thailand, in the Philippines. Veterans living abroad isn't necessarily a new thing because we're such travelers and we tend to go places anyway. And, military retirement makes me rich in Dominican Republic or poor in somewhere like New York. So I kind of stumbled
Yeah.
into that just kind of as a joke initially. And then I realized there was a real thirst for information on how veterans can do things like live outside the United States, get their health care and their benefits and all that.
Nice. That's awesome.
There's a
Um,
quick 30-second. I was an infantryman in the Army. I was the 101st. And then I did some time recruiting. That's kind of the military story, but
yeah.
nothing overly exceptional. I think a lot of the what I'll call like normal veterans kind of get, I don't know, kind of push aside. We're not all Navy SEALs. Some of us just, did a lot of time mopping, a lot of time. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got the mop out there on the flight line trying to mop up all the water when it's raining
Yeah.
outside,
So as an infantry private, then a sergeant and a staff sergeant, a normal infantry military career, nothing overly exceptional. I really felt like I started serving when I got out of the military because that's when I really
Mm.
started helping veterans.
Nice. That's a good way to put it. I've never thought about that before. You actually started serving after you got out. That's a
Mhm.
unique perspective. To circle back around real quick, your opportunity that you got to go speak in Washington D.C. How did that come? Were you invited or did you pursue that?
I applied for a legislative fellowship with the Veterans of
Okay.
Foreign Wars. So then my legislation was for student veteran employment through the VA. So I wanted a boost in student veteran jobs because so many veterans tend to have to work during their education because we're non-traditional students. So you tend to have maybe a family or a house or increased responsibilities. So I wanted the VA to provide part-time employment for student veterans at their schools and the VA to pay for it. So I viewed this as something that would help more veterans during their education so they didn't have to rush off to jobs or drop out of school because of employment or financial issues or anything like that. And this experience was very enlightening and very academic because obviously it took me like 6 months to write the legislation, do all the charts and graphs and everything. But in the end, it was a failure and disheartening because one, the legislation totally flopped, and two,
Mm.
it made me realize that a lot of the people that we elect to represent us don't really give a shit about us. When I went in there and talked to veterans and talked about veteran issues to Congress people, to senators, all that, it was really eye-opening in that they didn't care that much. Especially because I felt like what I was doing, I was very passionate about. I had charts, graphs, PowerPoints, and I'd get to like 15, 20 minutes to pitch members of Congress. This is my legislation. It's all done for you. All you have to do is put it forward to the floor, and then the VA will pay for student veterans jobs at their schools, from working in the cafeteria to the bookstores to all those things paid for by the VA. I kind of saw it as like a win-win-win for everyone. A win for the VA, win for the student veteran, and a win for the school. And the people there just didn't really care. I mean, I was supposed to get like 15 minutes with like 5 or 6 people. I got maybe 9 with one, maybe 30 seconds with another. And at the time, I was always introduced. I got my suit, my tie on, combat veteran. At the time, I was a graduate student at Harvard. So it's not like I'm walking in there off the street, and I got accepted to legislative fellowship. So that experience kind of made me realize that, okay, I want to help veterans, but I can't really work within this system.
Yeah, that's both eye-opening and disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, veterans, obviously we know we go through the training, we go through everything else, everything that you and I have gone through and all the other veterans who might be listening to this. And to get an opportunity to even go speak to people like that, you would think like, okay, I got an opportunity to talk to these people about an issue. I can bring it up and I can make some changes, and you're trying to do these good things. And it's disappointing that it just basically falls on deaf ears. And like you said, in so many words, they just give two shits. And that's very sad because these people are supposed to be, representative and supporting of us.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile,
as veterans, I learned that through that experience that we have to take care of ourselves better and we have to take care of each other. We can't really rely on the government or the VA or the military, even after we get out, to take care of ourselves. So moving abroad, I viewed as that. And now my mission in life, or my current kind of passion, is helping veterans go from America abroad to get a higher quality life, for peace, for more financial security, and to kind of have more fun too, like you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just did a video this morning, and I posted it across social media. And one of the things was that, 3 lessons I learned, while serving for 2 government agencies, and one of them would have been the military and then local law enforcement, is that, and I did 3 things that I learned, but one of them is that you're just a replaceable number. Like, it doesn't matter
Yeah.
at the end of the day if you got best friends or coworkers or whoever it is, your spot's going to be taken at the end of the day if you leave, get fired, or die. And that's unfortunate, because as veterans, I think you represent, obviously, not just your country, but there's so much involved into that. And then to come back and go and speak to a panel of legislators, basically to just be brushed off, like, you're like, that gives you an eye-opening experience. And I can't imagine like how that felt when you got that kind of response. And that's got to be so disheartening.
I was shed a few tears. I mean, I was destroyed because I put my life into this project, and I viewed it as a real way to help veterans through something concrete. I think that's what a lot of, we'll say, like, veteran influencers do, is they're not necessarily putting forward concrete solutions and instead just complaining about problems. So then I kind of took it a step further, and I started writing my blog about living abroad. So my first post was just about life here in the Dominican Republic, and a lot of veterans are super interested in it, because here in Dominican Republic, we actually have veteran centers for healthcare for service-connected veterans. So walking distance of my house, I can go get my healthcare, I can get medication, I can be seen by a psychiatrist, I can get a chiropractor, I can get all those things paid for through the foreign medical program of the VA with nothing out of pocket. A lot of veterans aren't even aware that you can get your VA benefits outside of the United States. But of course you can, because you're not in the military anymore, so they can't tell you where to live. So I started kind of putting out that kind of information, and now it's kind of expanded into a bigger thing, and I ended up writing my ebook for veterans moving abroad. I also traveled to like Mexico and met with the American Legion and medical organizations there to write a blog article about veterans living in Mexico, as well as like Thailand, the Philippines, Colombia, Costa Rica, because veterans kind of live all over the world, and it's been kind of a cool journey to do it.
Yeah, it sounds like an awesome journey, man. I mean, that's kind of like what people want. Like, you're like living that dream, man. Like, and I think it's just one of those things where, like you said perfectly, like, a lot of people, especially veterans, don't realize that you have these opportunities. And so, obviously, I think people are very grateful that you're out there pushing stuff on social media, and you're getting a lot of traction with that. And that was going to be another topic that you briefly touched on, was like, the other thing that I think veterans are concerned with is if they move out of state or if they move overseas and they do get disability or benefits or whatever it might be, how does that work if you're living in those other places? Like you said, I think you said you get access to all same benefits, basically.
Yeah, and it's essentially the same. I actually get better health care living here in the Dominican Republic, paid for by the VA, than I did when I was living in America. Here, there's no wait times for anything. So if I want like a mental health appointment, for example, I'm in there that day. And a lot of that is because the clinic gets paid when they treat veterans. So if I go there for an appointment, then they turn in the bill and the clinic gets paid. So some of it's like a financial incentive thing. So they have these like great programs. Like we have a Veterans Day events. We have like veterans, like yoga, all these types of things. Now I'm starting this veteran scuba dive thing where we're taking veterans out for like introductory scuba dive courses, because it's kind of a form of therapy. And living abroad has kind of connected me a lot with what's actually important in life. I think America now, I mean, we're so hung up on political stuff or consumer culture, when really, if you give me a cold beer and put me on a beach, I'm a happy guy. That's all that we need. And as veterans, you don't really need much to be happy. I mean, my apartment here in the Dominican Republic, I pay $500 a month for, whereas when I was living in Boston before I came down here, my rent was like $2,700 a month. And my apartment here is a lot better, a lot bigger, and I can walk to the beach. So when I started talking about kind of that lifestyle of veterans, I think it was really appealing to people, because there is a lot of problems in the United States, and veterans for generations have felt kind of pushed aside for the country that we gave everything for.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to accept, right? Because veterans, we like you said, we've done so much for the country. We signed up. What is the thing that we swear the oath to? We obey the commanders over us. But then at the end of the day, you see what happens to a lot of them, and basically just get pushed to the side. And, like what's going on right now is, the Congress or the legislators, they left with this huge VA, the benefit program unresolved, right? So they're talking, was it billions of dollars towards VA benefit payouts that they're not really sure that the VA is not even going to be able to pay the veterans for their education and their disability payments, right? Yeah. And so we're stuck left dealing with this crap, so to speak, and so you're right. It's very difficult to go, what, I've done all this for my country. I've sacrificed so much, and now this is my thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have that service mentality to where you're continuing working and working and working. You're continuing to give. And at the end of the day, when you get out of the military, like you mentioned, it's just you out there. I mean, we come from a community and the environment into the civilian world, which is more individualistic. One thing I like about the Dominican Republic is like things like community and church and family are all of higher importance than they are in the United States. So kind of being in a more community driven culture for me has been good. I think that a lot of veterans are looking around at America and not really liking what they're seeing in a lot of different ways. The American dream is a beautiful thing, but the American dream ain't really what it used to be.
Right. Yeah, that's 100% spot on. I mean, yes. I mean, you can go both ways. You can sit here and you can slam what's going on in the U.S. You could slam, other things going on in the country. Not to say that America is still not the greatest land and, the land of opportunity, which it certainly is. But we've all seen, unless you've been living under a rock, what's going on politically. We are probably, obviously I wasn't alive, 50 years, 60 years ago, but we seem to be very divided in so many different ways. And it's causing a lot of conflict, a lot of tension, a lot of crazy other ideas, I guess is the easy way to put it. But in a place like that where things seem to be more connected, I think that is a very good opportunity for veterans who've been through that process, done so much for the country, to go out and go, what, there is a community out here of like-minded people like myself, other veterans that are 20,000. Like that's quite a bit for
and there's far more in the Philippines is a big veteran destination as well, because everyone there speaks English. So there's no need to learn another language. Yeah. So in the Philippines, I think there are 60,000 veterans are currently there. Wow. And they have 10 or 12 VFW posts. That's where the only VA outside the United States is. So they have healthcare and all that stuff there. And then obviously you have an extremely low cost of living compared to the United States. I was there a few months ago, and a lot of the veterans I was with there at the VFW they're paying, $300 a month for a nice apartment, things like that. So that kind of lifestyle is possible outside the United States. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily possible inside the United States. So I firmly do believe that a lot of the political division and those problems in America are harder on veterans, because we know what it's like to come together. I mean, if you imagine your basic training or boot camp class, you have kids from all over the world, from all different corners of America, every religion, class, creed, all those things. And you take those people and you form them into a team. And then they get out of the military and they're thrust into an individualistic society that doesn't really care about them. So the moving abroad thing is my effort to tell veterans, especially veterans that are struggling, that there are other options out there. When you live in a country that over 20 veterans kill themselves every day in, sometimes escaping isn't necessarily a terrible idea. And I do get some pushback from people who are like, you abandoned the country, bro, I spent 10 years in the Army. I put in my time. Now I want to help myself and I help my fellow veterans discover a high quality life at a lower price.
Yeah. And that's, when you get comments like that, it's you're not seeing the bigger picture. Right. Yeah. And this is my perspective too. And maybe that's something that we align on but it's you're told that, you're abandoning your country. It's well, but did I really? Look what's going on. Who is abandoning who? Right. Yeah. It's you got the politicians and you get the VA and everybody fighting, and bickering over what the veterans deserve and the healthcare and the benefits that they're going to pay out. People that have been truly disabled and have gone through basically hell are fighting to get the stuff that they are quote unquote entitled to. You know,
I talked to a veteran last week on Instagram, and he was paralyzed in Iraq. He was in a roadside bomb, paralyzed from the neck down. And he has a wife and 2 kids. And he messaged me about wheelchair access abroad because the cost of living in the United States was so high, because he gets his VA benefits and he gets like Social Security disability as well. But even that money with the wife and the kids, and the wife can't really work because she got to take care of him and the 2 kids. Yeah. And when he messaged me that, that was like the saddest story I've ever heard, because you have this guy who's paralyzed from the neck down asking about wheelchair access abroad because the cost of living in the United States is too high for him.
Yeah.
You hear stuff like that, you're like, bro, the government should be giving this guy like 15 grand a month until he dies, making sure his kids are set up, his family's fine. And stuff like that really eats at you a little bit. And I've talked to veterans here. I've helped veterans move here, get their apartments, get set up, get their healthcare set up, and all those things. And it's been really rewarding to do that, because a lot of veterans do want an out. At first, I thought it would just be like single veterans like me. You know, I tell people I'm a no wife, no kids, no pets, no problems type of guy.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm surprised at how many families move abroad. I'm surprised how many people message me about things like international schools, about, you know, single female veterans as well that move abroad. So it's really not only single guys, it's families, women, and everyone.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you're getting a huge range, a wide range of people that are reaching out to you because of the stuff that you post on social media about that kind of lifestyle, and it strikes curiosity, which is obviously what it did with me. And you know, it's like, I think it kind of goes back to the old saying of like, you don't know what you don't know. We're familiar with what goes on in the United States, what we're accustomed to, what we live each and every single day. But you don't know what it's like to live in other countries, such as, you know, the Dominican Republic and all these other areas that could offer you a better lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle, a less stressful lifestyle versus the United States. And we don't see that because we're here. This is our life every single day. And I think, you know, through content that you produce and you create, I think it really gives a lot of other veterans, a lot of people, that opportunity to see what else is out there.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just my story, to where, like the healthy thing, when I moved here, you realized how kind of poisonous American food is, how much toxicity,
oh man,
how much
don't get me
processed food's
on
bad
that.
for you. And that ultra processed food is terrible for you. I mean, that's why the United States leads the world in chronic diseases and cancer and things like that. And then you come here and you realize, oh, this is what chicken is supposed to taste like when it's not pumped full of steroids and hormones. Like, this is what you know, normal food is. This is what cereal should be like, instead of kind of the high processed poison that American kids eat. So little things like that made a huge difference, not only in my physical health, but my mental health as well. You know, I sleep through the night here. I don't struggle with anxiety as much as I did in the United States. Obviously, something like PTSD tends to stick with you, but you don't think about how important your environment is when it comes to your mental health, because you can't heal in toxicity no matter who you are. And when I came here and I start swimming in the ocean every day, I'm eating healthier food, I'm giving myself a much better shot at happiness than if I was in the United States drinking energy drinks, trying to kill myself on a 9-to-5 or something like that. And there's so many veterans out there that I feel like I want to reach out and tell this message to, not only immediately, because I do talk to veterans, you know, maybe like your position, who are waiting for their kids to graduate high school, and then they're going to go retire abroad. Because for my mother's generation, her dream was like, hey, I want to retire and buy a condo in Florida. Well, now for like middle class people, that is just financially unreachable to buy a condo in Florida. Whereas, you know, 50 years ago, you could do it. But you can still buy a condo here in the Dominican Republic, where we have things like full property rights for foreigners. And that's kind of what I started putting out for veterans is, you know, some places like Thailand, you cannot own land in. You can buy a little condo or something, but you can't own land. So there's different property rights and things like that abroad. And my ebook I wrote for veterans moving abroad is all free information. It's got links in it to things like healthcare, things like cost of living, to answer everyone's questions. And I mainly wrote it because I was getting so many messages that I'm like, just write this. And, you know, here's all the information stuff you could ask.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that works. I mean, that's a super simple idea. I mean, just take all the Q and like FAQs, right, and just give
Yeah.
it as a free download. Helps you save time, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
And most veterans, like the one thing I get the most is I can't take my guns with me. Like that's what you get from the veteran community.
yeah. That's
That's,
true. Yeah, I don't know, man. I built my own AR a few years ago, but man, that was
yeah,
anyway.
you can't bring it to the DR with you. I'm sorry.
Hey, but trading that, I don't know. I mean, that could be something I could easily give up. So,
Yeah, with
yeah,
everything, there's trade-offs, and that's what I tell veterans is obviously it's not like moving abroad is going to solve all of your problems. Like you're still going to
right.
be you no matter where you go. But for me, a simple lifestyle, a slower paced lifestyle has been a far
Yeah.
healthier lifestyle.
Oh yeah, big time. And so for anybody who's listening to this who's not in the United States, but maybe a veteran of another country, like, is there a lot of veterans from other countries that move there too?
Yeah, we have some like Canadian veterans here,
Okay.
and they come to some of the things that we do. I think veterans, no matter where you're from, tend to be the type of person that's going to move abroad because we know how to take care of ourselves. We are more adventurous to begin with. I mean, we're comfortable with the unknown, which is what joining the military is. And so many veterans live abroad during their service. Obviously, the American government has bases in like 70 countries.
Yep.
So, if you're stationed somewhere like Germany or Japan, you might just get out and stay there. I have friends that did that. I have one of my good friends was a embassy guard in Costa Rica. So he goes to embassies, embassy guard for the Marines, gets out of the Marines and just stays there. Falls in love with the Costa Rica girl, enjoys life now, living there, and that's that.
Yeah, nice, man. I like that. Yeah, well, you are definitely living a dream. I think a lot of veterans want to achieve, and I think this is for me, this is a great interview and an opportunity to talk to you because I don't think that this is something, like I said, I think we said at the beginning that a lot of veterans know and understand just how great of an opportunity this is. And so I'm glad we had a chance to connect and talk and see if we can push this message out a little bit further and kind of help you grow that awareness, especially since you're like literally right there, boots on the ground, and you're
Yeah.
providing real time information and all the information and the resources that these folks want. I know quite a few right here in the Dallas area that would probably jump at the chance if they could make this work.
Yeah, and I
Um,
have on my blog, I have articles about moving abroad and the process and everything from like the financial aspect of it to like country guides on the Dominican Republic, on Mexico, on Colombia. I had a veteran recently write one on Germany, and I'm having a female veteran write an article now about being a female veteran abroad. So I'm constantly kind of doing that, and they're all free articles. The ebook that I wrote with everything you need to know about moving abroad is all free on my website johnhdaviswriter.com. And it was great to talk to you. And if any veterans out there do have questions about moving and living abroad, you can hit me up on Instagram or TikTok or email or whatever.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll put your contact information or the resource somewhere in the show notes or the description of the video or the podcast episode, wherever it lands up. Um, Man, I know this is kind of brief. I think we're just barely coming up on 30 minutes.
Yeah,
But
well, let's talk again.
yeah, there was definitely a lot here and a lot of other things I think to unpack on that. This was just really a 30,000 overview, I think, for anybody listening to this that wants to just strike that interest in their mind of other opportunities that are out there and the potential to have a better lifestyle. Veterans obviously are going through so much, but I think sometimes we get stuck in our own ways where we don't see the opportunities that are there presented to us. And, like I said, thankfully for people like yourself, you have those resources and you're able to push those out through the wonders of social media.
Yeah.
Now, as far as your book and your guides and all that stuff, where do people go for that? Is it just the same resource site?
Yeah, my
As
website.
well?
My main
Okay.
thing is writing. So I write for like military family magazines. I write for a few different online publications. Like I said, my most recent book or one of my recent book, 365 Days of Veteran Affirmations. And this is cool because it's an affirmation every single day of the year written for veterans with veteran language, culture, uh, creeds, all those types of things. I really think affirmations are a positive mental health tool for veterans because we tend to be like dark humor, sarcasm, cursing,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
veteran community. But if you wake up every day and you have a positive affirmation to read every day of the year, then that can start your day off right. So I have some other things like that on my website and all my different articles and content and all those things.
Awesome, man. That's really great. This has been a wealth of knowledge. We'll definitely have to have you back on. Maybe pick something that we can dive further into.
Yeah, it'd be good to get a topic or something. So not just
yeah. But like I said, this is just a really great eye opener and an opportunity for other people to realize like the potential is out there, and they actually have somebody who is a trusted source that they can go to. Not just somebody's like, oh, well, I heard somebody say that this guy knew that guy who knew his sister that was living over there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not like selling real estate or anything. So
yeah. And you're not.
I like to write. I like to help veterans, and I'm living here. So for me, it was kind of just like, here you go.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the main goal with the newsletter that I write and the podcast that I'm doing is not just go out there and find the information based on fourth or fifth party resources heard through somebody's cousin's sister's mother, but go directly to the source, folks like yourself who can provide the direct information. And it's been a great opportunity to have this conversation with you, man. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we will definitely connect in the future on some more topics. So I look forward to it. All right, man. Take care.